Hey traders, checking out on the stock market today. So we have the bears in absolute complete control. One of the most convincing controlled days that we've seen in a while. A couple key support levels are in play. Some of them are breaking. Some of them are in play for tomorrow. We'll check in on some trade review and where we stand bigger picture. So the bears had complete control today. We saw a bounce attempt Friday. We tried to set daily higher lows on a lot of individual names. We gave back all that progress with weak opens today, and then the bears controlled things. All of our sectors were weak. There was one point in the morning where QQQ tried to take the burden for the bulls on its shoulders and failed to do so. And then everything remained weak. And you look at the SPY 5-minute time frame, and you just show me that, and I'd say, well, yeah, bears had control, but it's not a very weak day. But you have to keep in mind that we saw essentially a gap down open. We opened right at the lows of Friday, and then bears controlled the day. So it was a big red day, -2, -3%. The biotech sector was down -6% at one point. So complete bear control. We did see it bounce into the end of the day, but that bounce was just an hourly lower high. So SPY has now lost the daily uptrend. Lower high, lower low. That's not very meaningful for me just yet because QQQ has not broken support yet. We're right there. But we know the SPY bears aren't going to go anywhere further to the downside unless QQQ breaks support as well. So that's something that's key for me tomorrow. Bigger picture on SPY, weekly now is the most important support, 451.14. It's another 1% plus to the downside. If we hold that level, the weekly higher lows remain intact. If we lose that level, then further consolidation. And at that point, it will be monthly consolidation potentially shaping up. But technically speaking, the weekly higher lows are still intact at the moment. We look at QQQ, and it's right on top of its daily support. So that low is 369.31, and we closed right at that level today. Daily RSI on QQQ, if we do break and follow through, will be oversold. Oversold has been a good time to buy since the COVID lows, but we would need another clear leg down for daily oversold conditions. One thing I'm watching on the NASDAQ is this 12-hour downtrending support line. 1, 2, 3, 4, currently on our 5th distinct touch, and it would be possible to break the low, but not follow through. So if this downtrending support line holds, it's going to be notable for me. And looking back on the past, one thing that I've been noticing over the last couple of years is that when we see periods of fear, periods of consolidation on the longer term time frames, monthly pullback, it's very often falling wedges that mark our long-term higher lows. And that just shows us bear exhaustion and then bulls taking over. There's also plenty of times that double bottoms have marked bottoms. We had a little double bottom here on the 12-hour. Back here in September 2020, there was a little double bottom that marked a bottom. But it's this downtrending support line for me. So that's key for the rest of this week. Also watching the clear 12-hour lower highs, knowing that anything under the high of the Friday bounce is just another lower high here. So this is a level that I'm keeping an eye on, along with the price level. So if that level of 469.31 breaks, make that 369.31, we can't see any follow through. Otherwise, it will be convincing that the bears are taking over as far as the confirmed weekly downtrend for the first time since the COVID lows. Bigger picture on QQQ, we are in a monthly uptrend, and anything above 349.87 is a monthly higher low. So that's why I am keeping an eye out for some signs on the 12-hour time frame that we may potentially be seeing bear exhaustion. But again, there's no sign of that whatsoever right now. It's just something that I know I'm looking for the next 2 trading days. We'll get that answer fairly quickly, probably tomorrow. Semiconductors. So again, you're going to see a lot of charts that had a solid day Friday for the bulls, but zero follow through. That looks like a daily higher low attempt. Good try, but nope, gave it all back. So key support here is 287.73. And just in comparison to QQQ, we can see we have a bullish correlation because we're still multiple percent, roughly 2% above that level, while QQQ is less than 1/3% above its support. Hourly trend change back to the bulls needed if we're going to hold that daily support level. So I'm viewing this as the all-time high, low of the pullback, lower high, and the question for the next day or two, can the bulls form a daily higher low compared to 287.73? There's also a downtrending support line here we're going to be keeping an eye on. We've been watching it on NVDA. And I don't like that one. Let's take off extended hours sometimes. I like drawing trends without extended hours on to make them a bit more clear. But keeping an eye on this downtrending support line as well on the semiconductors. And if it's NVDA, I'm watching this downtrending support line, which we are at right now. Key support tests. As far as the NASDAQ overnight, if we gap down tomorrow, I'm scouting an oversold bounce on the morning. If we open higher, let's go to the S&P 500. If we open higher, I'm scouting a 4-hour lower high on the S&P 500. A lot of space for it to form. Tesla held up as a lead bull today, but we can stay stronger than QQQ. We can have a bullish correlation to QQQ, but we can't disregard its weakness unless there was some major news event. But we see a solid green day, a break of the high of Friday. Not many names broke the high of Friday. Tesla did, but also a big upper wick because we closed weak in markets. And bulls could not keep up fighting against that momentum. Hourly higher low, lower high, lost support into the end of the day. Little double bottom the last 2 days at 1013. So we can say Tesla is positioned well if the broader market bulls are able to show up. But again, if we keep dropping and if we break QQQ support and we get any follow through, we're looking back down at the recent low of 980 on Tesla. And for me, it's the 980 level that needs to break if we're going to confirm a daily downtrend. NIO, daily equilibrium tightening up. Bulls must hold 2778. Still a lot of space above that level. What, 5% plus? So aggressive bulls scouting a daily higher low compared to 2778. Patient bulls and bears are just waiting for this equilibrium, ideally to tighten up a bit further and then give us a break next week. What I would want to see is a daily higher low, tighten up, and we've only got 3 more trading days this week, so possible that we have to wait until next week to break this tightening daily range. XLV daily downtrend confirmed, but we are still scouting a weekly higher low, anything above 128.35. Size of this pullback is starting to get significant enough where even if we hold 128.35, we will then have to be cautious of a weekly lower high being the result of the next bounce. But for now, the hourly and daily downtrend are our guides. Next time we bounce, anything under 136.83 is just a daily lower high. So joining Team Bear for now, but keeping in mind that it is still an uptrend on the weekly time frame. Financial sector, earnings reactions are hurting it. Gap to fill was 39.68, and that was the low of the day, right at that level. Hourly bounce into the close, lower high set. Bulls need an hourly trend change back in their favor. Technically speaking, we are looking for a daily higher low, anything above 38.97. But again, it's similar to the healthcare sector, where even if we hold that level for a daily higher low, the drop is big enough now that we will scout a daily lower high to be the result of the next bounce. But clearly a bearish reaction to the earnings reports that have come out so far. One thing I want to note, I did swing bearish XLF on Friday and had a nice win, exited right near that low on the morning, but it was a mistake because I forgot that Friday pre-market was the start of earnings. I was not trying to gamble on earnings. And so I lucked out with the bearish reaction and I actually had a solid win, but we have to ensure that we reprimand ourselves. I don't want to just gloss that over and just say, oh, thank goodness I made money, on to the next trade, and just completely forget my mistake. I need to burn that into my brain. It's like reprimanding a dog. Nope, that was bad. You lucked out. If you had lost money there, it would have been a really dumb reason and it would have been a clear mistake. So made money on the mistake, but absolutely want to burn into my brain, you messed up. Oftentimes, we let our money, our wins or losses dictate how things are seared into our brains, but we want to make sure that we're highlighting mistakes and also highlighting successes, but don't want to confuse that in our memory as a success. That was a mistake. Hourly trend change back to bulls needed for the daily higher low. Biotech sector is getting absolutely crushed. The volatility in this sector is beautiful for these ETFs. Look at the bull move on LABU Friday, where we saw 15% to the upside. Look at the bull move on the inverse ETF today, where we see 15% to the upside. You're getting days with, again, if I need a range of, let's say I need, because these are leveraged ETFs, I would use smaller capital. But if I need 3%, 5% move to have a day maker, and you give me a 15% range, it is so much easier to make my day maker than if you give me a 6% range and I need to make, whatever example I just gave. So we have to see, we see significant volatility. It gives us significant opportunity. And I am looking for a weekly oversold bounce in the biotech sector, but it will not be biotech sector support levels that dictate this bounce, in my opinion, because there's nothing notable nearby. We're now looking down at 89.24, but XBI will bounce when IWM and QQQ bounce, and I am looking for opportunity for that. And I will be looking bullish. We are daily and weekly oversold. I'm not going to enter just because we're daily and weekly oversold, but I am scouting bounces because of that, and I'm using QQQ and IWM to help dictate my entries. Good segue into the bounce attempt I played on XBI today. Did I put up my orders? I think so. So XBI, first 5-minute drop. Because of our lower open, 5-minute RSI is down in the teens very quickly. All right, I'll play that bounce. How many times have I played oversold bounces with 5 and 15-minute oversold conditions on the first morning drop? The answer is a lot. It's been working out often as day makers, and when I'm wrong, there are small losses. So what I did this morning is recognize that weakness, and I was watching QQQ on the 1-minute time frame, and QQQ was dictating my entry on XBI, LABU. I knew that QQQ was weak first thing, and I'm looking for a sign that bulls are shifting momentum. So I'm on the 1 minute, and I'm watching the clear downtrend, lower high, lower low, lower high, higher low. As soon as I see the low of the day hold there, I mark it by LABU. And my entry is, oh man, could have sworn nope. So my entry was on LABU 30, nope, 20, something 19. So it was 23.19. This is the 1 minute time frame again. So 23.19, I enter on this bounce. I sold 40% fairly quickly on the initial move to, again, protect myself, to lower my break even. As soon as I sell 40%, my break even is now something like 23.05. I then sold a little bit more on the 5-minute inability to break the high of the day. I sold another 20%. High of the day was 24.01. We failed. At that point in time, I am now risk-free. I place my stop under the double bottom at the low of the day, and I stop out. And it ends up going from a decent day maker win. When we're up at the high of the day, I've got a day maker win. And I could have locked that in. I wanted a little bit more. And in the end, that cost me profit, but I stopped out without losing anything. And again, that's perfectly fine by me because I have no regrets on anything that I did because that trade has worked out plenty of times. So now I'm back to all cash. I just stopped out. I'm break even on the morning, and I'm seeing bears are in absolute complete control because when I stopped out on LABU, QQQ is hitting or testing the low of the day at that point. So from there, okay, I need a bear entry, but I'm not comfortable just entering bearish. I'm watching for ideally a 15-minute lower high or an hourly lower high. So we see fresh lows on QQQ and then this bounce right here. This bounce did not change the 5-minute trend. Why did this bounce take place out of nowhere? We hit a low of the day and then shoot up in 20 minutes. My opinion, look at the timing, 11:30. What happens at 11:30? Look at this level on SPY, 456.58. Why does that level matter? That's the low of last week by 2 pennies. So we double bottom at the low of last week. That shows me automated bots and algos just being turned on. And someone in the chat room said, looks like the buy switch was flipped. And it literally is. It is the algos and the bots responding to a key support level and then just buying. But the algos and the bots, they buy, they use up all that defense. They're playing defense to defend that support. They never change the 5-minute trend. We know moves must change trends for follow through. So I'm looking at QQQ and saying, okay, I recognize SPY is bouncing because of that double bottom. QQQ has not changed the 5-minute trend. I am scouting a 1-minute lower high for that entry. And at that point in time, it's about 11:50. Trying to pull up the thread here as I was given a little bit of a play-by-play. So QQQ 5, no, not that one. Watching QQQ 1 minute uptrend to see if I can scout I meant a top fish for 5 minute consolidation. Scouting an SQQQ entry. I'm on 1 minute lower high try. So in on the 1 minute lower high try. So what was happening on QQQ at that point in time? We had a big enough pullback on the 1 minute time frame for me to anticipate a top fishing play. And it was here. So I enter bearish here, and I put my stop over the high. Chop around a little bit, and then we roll over. So bulls defending, 1 minute higher low, zooming out enough on that, a little pullback, 5 minute consolidation underway. So at that point, again, I'm risk-free. I'm in my short, and I'm risk-free because I did take partial position off. We never changed the 5 minute trend. So what's going to happen? If we change the 5 minute trend, I'm going to stop out, break even, or a tiny loss because the bulls will prove it. If we don't change the 5 minute trend, I'm not going to stop out. We didn't change the 5 minute trend. We faded to new lows. So then I'm saying, all right, well, I can maybe swing this position, but I just gave back a morning day maker on XPI. If I just leave my stop at break even, it's possible we bounce, and then I stop out bearish break even, and I'm flat on the day with nothing to show for my work. So I do want to lock in this trade, and I was then scouting this 5 minute falling wedge on QQQ. And I said, okay, this is a clear enough falling wedge for me that I will exit SQQQ when the 5 minute lower highs break. So on this break right here, I exit, lock in the trade, the bulls follow through, and then I didn't try and make an entry on the hourly lower high because I was getting ready to live stream. And again, I'm much more distracted when that's going on. I generally don't trade in the last hour of the day. So that was that. Ended up with a decent win on that short. And just wanted to show how the different sectors were different factors. QQQ was the reason for my LABU entry. I was aware of the SPY bounce off support. I was aware of the lack of trend changes. I zoomed in to the 1 minute time frame to try and pinpoint my entry. So all in all, pretty solid day. Again, nothing notable, just a base hit day, but that's all I'm looking for. And I liked the way that I was looking in both directions and able to get that win. IWM, bear break to fresh lows. We are at the lowest price on IWM in a long time. Many months. Look at this weekly chart and how important this support zone is. IWM has bounced between 205 and 209 many times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and here we are again. If we drop down below 205s, we've got a level at 202.92, but then we open things up. There is not a lot of support down there. Weekly downtrend confirmed. Daily downtrend clearly still intact. So again, in my opinion, this chart here is going to pretty much dictate when the biotech sector bounces. There's days where it's bullish and bearish correlation, but we have to see IWM bounce for XPI to get any bounce follow through. So I'm watching it very closely. Clear hourly downtrend, lower high at the end of the day, weakness into the close, but a support zone that the bulls really want to hold in the low 200s. Because we are on the verge of 52-week lows in IWM. Dollar, notable bounce. Monthly bull flag is on the table for the dollar. That is a possibility. Daily trend change back to the bulls will be needed. We will need that clear higher low and higher high, but the bounce hasn't topped out yet, and there's a lot of space for that higher low to form once we do top out. Metals saw a lot of volatility today. We saw gold drop and then V-shape and then just chopping around. So gold is attempting a daily higher low, but if we don't break 1832, the bulls aren't proving anything to us. We have to confirm the daily and weekly trend change by breaking that level. Silver is way stronger than gold today. Look at silver's daily candle. It confirmed a daily bull flag. It confirmed the weekly trend change with the higher low and higher high, and it's seeing notable follow through. I'd be focused on silver more than gold. And again, people are asking me, well, what are my plans on the metals? I'm using my capital right now enough that, if it's just sitting there and it's not being used, I want to put it in something, but I am using it a bit more actively right now. And so I have no rush to get into the metals because, again, my example is gold over the last 9 months has seen a 14% range. XBI's leveraged ETFs have seen that twice in the last 2 days. So I'm not missing a thing in the metals. 9 months, 1 day's range. I'd be interested in silver if I were interested. And at this point, bulls must hold 21.94. But one thing I'd be cautious of, and again, I don't just want my capital sitting there. We have our low, our monthly lower high, our double bottom. If we don't break 25.40, it's just a monthly tightening range. And this could take another 2+ months. So what I'm looking for to be in a longer term bullish metals position, and again, I've got some physical exposure, but if I'm looking to increase my exposure, I want dollar weakness. And right now, the dollar's monthly chart is too strong for me to have any confidence in long-term metal breakouts. The dollar could weaken from here. Things could change, but I'm just in no rush to do anything with these metals. You could definitely make an argument as to why it's time for a bullish entry, but again, I am just not interested at the moment. Keeping an eye on that downtrend resistance line as well. If we reject from it, monthly lower high. Miners are not responding. So the broader stock market weakness weighing on miners, closing near the lows, no sign of a daily higher low on both GDX and GDXJ. So that's one other concerning factor for the metals. Metal bulls want to see the miners doing the same thing, or if not, leading the way. And right now, we're just in a tightening range on the metals. We're looking for daily higher lows. It's worth scouting the next day or two, but the miners are being hurt by broader market weakness. CCJ, last trade I took went well. Daily, couple entries, scale out, but now I'm looking for a weekly higher low, tightening range. High, low, lower high, scouting a higher low. The reason I sold that swing trade was knowing that a weekly lower high was absolutely a possibility here and not wanting to give back gains. So now I'm scouting a weekly higher low compared to 2002. And I didn't like an entry today because of the broader market weakness, but I am still interested. And I need to see the broader market see some relief bounce. I'm watching the hourly downtrend on CCJ, but I could essentially find myself a position size where I could scale in a couple entries down here and only risk the profits of the last swing trade that I took. And I may do that because, again, we want to see a weekly higher low and equilibrium, which would probably take us into earnings if we do see a weekly higher low set. But I'm being patient and picky. And again, the bears have a possibility tomorrow to really prove something to us. This 12-hour NASDAQ support is very important to me. If we fall right through that, it's going to be uh-oh. But again, look at the 12-hour RSI. We're hitting 12-hour oversold RSI. And if you go back since the COVID lows, when is the best time to buy the NASDAQ? 12-hour oversold RSI. Does not stay there long. Doesn't mean this time can't be different, but if we're looking historically, you can draw a falling wedge on this RSI. I don't ever do that. I'm not convinced the bears are going to run away with it. I am scouting bullish. I'm scouting a biotech sector bounce. I'm scouting bounces in a lot of things. Bitcoin, bulls showed up right when the stock market closed today for a significant bounce. Bears absolutely controlled today, but I'm keeping an eye out for that 12-hour support. It's going to be an interesting week. I appreciate you watching. Do good things. Keep an eye on that downtrending NASDAQ 12-hour support line. And we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks again. Do good things. We'll see you. Get outside. Plant some stuff. Life's good. So adventure time. We are heading back from Vegas, going to the East Coast, heading to Florida for me, and booking it through Texas and Mississippi in the South. Didn't take a whole lot of time. It was winter at this point. We're talking December, January. So snow on the ground, and I didn't think it got that cold in Texas, but it does. But there were some great state parks, and state parks are kind of like national forests in the sense that if you're there on weekdays and it's not the summer, there is nobody there. So didn't expect to see frozen water in Texas, but some nice views and some nice hikes. And this was a little state park, and I was literally the only person there, camping out by myself and trails to myself, and it was great. So just avoiding the rush hour and not feeding the alligators can give you some solitude. And it wasn't too cold. Definitely had to bundle up at night, but certainly after that 12-degree night in Zion, everything else was just a bonus. And some nice trees and nature and angles of sunlight at golden hour. And from here, I did go on a little road trip in Florida, so we'll cover that next. And that's the end of my Honda Civic. So had that Honda Civic from high school, drove it across the country twice, one time with my buddies from North Carolina to California, down the coast, back across the South, through the Occupy movement, then took that individual road trip, so certainly spent a lot of time with that little guy. It's a good car. Never really caused me much trouble. And sent it off. I donated it that year, and my taxes were such that the donation didn't do anything for me, so I could have just given it away to a friend. But hopefully it helped out somebody. What else we got here? CBD. I found this photo. This is 5 years old. I was taking CBD before it was the hip thing to do. I forget which company made that. It certainly wasn't public, but probably not trustworthy either. Nice to see that we are getting some legitimate companies and some standards. Looking forward to standards in CBD, because we don't know what mold is on those flowers that they're getting their CBD from, and we don't know what extraction methods they're using. So we do need some kind of regulation in that industry to ensure quality standards are kept. So I am looking forward to that part of things. And I'll see you all in the near future. And we'll go over a little Florida road trip, which is cool as long as you don't do it in the summer. And I made that mistake, and it was miserable. So have a good night. We'll see you soon.